and we have seen some little instances where they try and exploit that, but the rest of their draft, it feels like it's just not following that combination, and it feels like they're losing out on what they could possibly be using to win.
It feels like Nova has like half of the formula. It's like they figured out the half where like, okay, this is what we're going to ban out, this is what J-Team's really good at. But then when it comes to building their own comps, it seems like they're kind of either too focused in on doing one thing specifically, or that, you know, they're just kind of drafting that they think are strong in certain positions and not really thinking about how those pieces fit together. So however it is that they got to figure it out, they got to figure it out, and they got to figure it out really fast, because this is game 3 and they're already down 0-2.
Yeah, it's incredibly crucial and interesting. So Caitlyn and Sett open for the taking. What will Nova decide to prioritize? Because Sett has been one of the biggest picks as well for NXT. Caitlyn did well on Lil V on game number 1, and Nova decides, yes, they'll take the Caitlyn instead.
So this is now pretty much setting up, hey, Golden Feet, you came in during our mid-season break. You've kind of shored up to be an improvement from the roster that we saw back in spring. And now with the Caitlyn in hand, it is his opportunity to show that he can try and carry this team. But like we mentioned, that Sett is up and available and has always been a go-to pickup for Nesty when it is left open outside of that Twisted Fate and Galio.
And the thing here is that the Sett is so flexible. It can go in so many different positions. It can go jungle, it can go mid, it can go top. There's no real telling. Like, the Sett pick doesn't really show anything. I mean, there are instances where it can go bot. I don't think this is one of them, since Callista's already out of the picture and Jhin has been locked in. But this Sett is so flexible. It doesn't really tell Nova's comp anything. So it's going to be interesting to see what they choose to lock in next. I'm hoping that they pick something that can help either Nova, Caitlyn stay safe, or help it push the lane in, because otherwise, you know, J-Team can just lock in something that shoves in, and then they're going to be in a situation where Caitlyn isn't really that effective.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they had the choice whether or not to go the Woody route to go lock in the Tom Kench, but Thresh has been a very stable pick for Pop, even having teams to ban that out against him. And this is one of those days where he has to pick this. And I guess, speaking of staple, Renekton is center for Rocky.
Riku, you can't see it. I can see Crow's face cam, though, and all I see is pain and suffering and almost the diminishing of hope leaving his body, as that is again going to be a blind Renekton being picked up here for Nova, for Rocky here in game 3.
As a person who's competed against Rocky and G4 for many, many years in the GPL during my time with various Southeast Asian teams, this is kind of okay. The thing about those two players is that they are who they are, and I think this is just a situation where they're just choosing to stick with their guns. It's a do or die situation, and they're choosing to go with what they know. So can't really knock it too hard, but I can say that I am a little scared.
Understandable, considering that it is a do-or-die situation. Nova, or these players in particular, these experienced players in particular, are very used to BO5s where they are always in the lead, so this is another new test for them. But yeah, Orianna being gutted out of the draft, and as well as Morgana.
All right, so getting rid of Morgana, interesting enough, but Nova were the ones that actually locked in the Thresh themselves, so you do have a little bit of that proactive bot lane if you can try and land a hook and then follow up into a trap combo. So for Pop and Golden Feet, this gives them a decent opportunity to try and go 1-for-1 up against Lil V and Woody and see if they can manifest a advantage on their side of the map and not have to rely on Rocky to find a good teleport, or for Ryan to try and make his mark, because I think that's kind of been the biggest disconnect over the course of this series has been between Hana and Ryan. It feels like Hana has been pretty much on fire for the last 2 games, where Ryan, even though we've known him to be kind of the shot caller for Nova, unfortunately his performance has not been able to line up, and the Lilia did make it through the second ban phase, and it's going to get locked in here now for Hana.
I think the Lilia pick here is really interesting, especially when you pair it with something like a Jhin, because of her ability to basically put members of your team to sleep and then set up for something like a curtain call. I think Lilia does very well as a setup champion, and I think when you have something like Sett on your team and you set up, that you think about the possibility of sleeping multiple members with Sett jumping in with his ultimate, we're in for some pretty insane looking team fights.
Yeah, I think that is the name of the game, having for Nova to at least, I mean, team fight wise, yes, Type A J team is looking really strong. Silas?
Silas
Jungle.
in the jungle now for Ryan. I was getting a little bit concerned because if we remember back to G4 Silas, it's literally do or die in almost every time we've seen it. And G4's been not afraid to kind of just jump into a backline 1v4 on a Silas to try and make a massive play, but now seeing that Azir getting locked in allows them to have a little bit of team fight pressure. Meanwhile, though, on the side of Type A J team, they're the ones that say, all right, we're going to go ahead, get the Karma locked in, and try and answer that push and that aggression that can come out from Nova's bot lane.
And well, the thing I'm glad to see here for J Team is they did pick pushing something to help the Jhin push in, which is basically going to mean that this Caitlyn might not get as much effect as they want to in terms of pushing towers. I'm really interested to see how this Nova comp works out. Silas jungle is something that's kind of fell out of favor ever since the nerfs back, I think just last summer. But I'm interested to see how it interacts with the Lilia because there are some decent ultimates for him to take away. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, and I mean, looking back on this pick for G4, Azir hasn't really been the spiciest or hottest pick for G4 and often being taken advantage of, especially at the early phases of the game, come spring, come summer. And therefore, it is one of those things where it's a do or die situation, and therefore they have to pick what they're comfy with and hope to see whether or not they're still able to get that reset and make it a 2-1 for them to stay alive in this series. And in the tournament, too.
Yeah, overall, you got to stay alive in the tournament. Again, we've mentioned time and time again that the only way to get to Worlds is via getting to finals of PCS Summer. And there is now that very real possibility that Nova's run comes to an end today up against Type A J team. Type A J team, they only need one more Nexus to secure match point in their favor and try and knock out Nova here. So, Crow, if you're in this kind of situation, I know as coaching staff, but also as players, this is as stressful as it gets.
Yeah, it is stressful. It can get a little emotional in the middle of the game, especially when you're not doing well. But I think that the important thing right now is just maintaining a 0-0 mentality. Just remember that like the past two games don't matter right now. What matters is the game in front of you. And play well this game. If you live another game, play poorly, then you know your season's over. Can't really think about the season being over right now. You just gotta think about again winning the game that's playing.
Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and load on in for Game 3 between Nova Esports and Type A J Team. And J Team already getting a little bit crazy here as we see all 5 members make a beeline to the bot side of the map. Maybe looking for a play here. Pop is going to spot it out, so he gets himself back to safety at the very least, and allows Nova actually to try and get some deep vision in to try and track where Hana's going to be in his jungle.
Yeah, nicely done still, at least, for Nova to be able to stop any sort of funny business in the bottom side of the map. Possibly, perhaps this would be maybe predicting that Golden Feet Pop would try something a little bit funny in the bottom side of the map. But yeah, we'll have to see what Ryan will have to hijack, I suppose. I mean, you've got Nesty's ult here. At least you've got at least the curtain call as well to start the fights. And you've got G4 as well for any sort of engage or disengage in the form of the Emperor's Divide. They're still not stopping, by the way.
Still trying to. Again, Lilia doesn't mind trying to get up into your face, especially while you're on for Hana, if you're on this Lilia, especially in these kind of skirmishes. It can go very well. Facebreaker, though, is going to connect onto Ryan. That's going to force him back through his jungle, as it looks like the invade will be a success in the form of stealing out the Raptors. Lilia loves that. Gets that level 2. Happy to back off.
Easy steal, easy zone coming from J Team, having that Facebreaker in. Ryan, again, any of these champions aren't the best at the moment, especially when you're at level 1, so you just have no choice but to concede that. And no punish whatsoever, considering the fact that we're just 3 members in that camp having to help guard. And I think it's a good start for Hana. But the thing is, when we look at Lilia's track record, at least, when it comes to the PCS, so far they're looking pretty.
So now we'll keep track of where Hana is at least trying to position himself. We do see, though, that Ryan, this time around on the Silas, not afraid to just try and get up into Hana's face, as he's already looking for that Raptor. Hana, though, going to come around the corner. We'll see how well he's able to fare this as spots it out. Able, though, to just pick up every single Raptor off a quick one. Watch out, Eep is available. It's going to be the flash coming out from Ryan immediately. Flashing on forward is Hana himself. Watch out, Eep gets put on down. The bonk is going to land. And there you go. First blood going on over to Hana. Start things off here for Taipei J team.
And the thing with that play is that Ryan was the one who took that risk. He was willing to exchange at least another Raptor for Raptor after Hana stealing the first. And unfortunately, if you're up against a set there to actively set for Hana here, damage check, CC check. I believe that was 2 face breakers in a short span of time, and no escape as a flash, even though being used by Ryan as well.
Oh no, Ryan, this is not the start you're looking for. Emotes say it's happy, but unfortunately, it's now going to be a second kill going on over to Hana on this Lilia, and that is not the start you wanted to see here from Nova in a do-or-die situation.
I mean, exactly. This is the start where, you know, J-Team full control. Game number 1 and 2, it was definitely Nova having to do whatever they wanted early and J-Team waiting it out for the 5v5s. And this time around, because Nesty is on the set, therefore is able to propel, and the dynamic is different now because they're able to make these aggressive plays just because of that pick. And Ryan on the back foot twice now just because of that first kill is unable to punish because, again, G4 on this Azir, he's not able to do much, especially pre-level 6.
Yeah, no, G4 kind of comes on over. He says, hey, friend, you're dead, unfortunately. And at that point now, you take a look at that jungle matchup. It's 8-27 in the CS numbers. On top of that, it's 2-0-0. This is not the start that you want to have if you are a Nova Esports fan. Especially from Ryan, which has always been one of those pretty much stable players of this roster. He's always been reliable, but in this series, he has been outclassed, and Taipei J team are taking advantage of it.
Yeah, it all boils down again to what you can do with your picks at the moment with your mid and jungle. And at this point of the game, earlier on, Hana and Nesty don't really need those level 6s to be relevant in this point of the game. And it's going to only continue to snowball because Hana will have access to that fleet and Nesty will have access to that showstopper. And again, Ryan on the back foot having to scour around for any sort of crumbs left by Hana because he's at a 2-level deficiency, I suppose, against Hana.
On top of that, Hana has the most CS on his team, too, by the way. That's something you rarely see out of your jungle early on, as he's just going to continue to power farm away. He's going to hit that level 6 pretty early, too, as well. Maybe even before his first back, as he has yet to go back himself. And it's disgusting how far ahead this Lilia has gotten, and is very easy for Taipei J team to use this to just snowball the game out of control.
I think, yes, this is the most lead that we've seen in a Lilia. I think the next one would be Ryan's Lilia back in the PSG Talent series, but this is the most that we've seen on this pick. And usually, yes, you get that early lead, but looks like for Hana, he's having to set the game and set the tone of the game at the moment. As Nova now falling into that portion where they're hoping for G4 to scale and hoping to punish J-Team's aggressive plays.
That's a disgusting 6-minute back from Hana, by the way. That's a fully completed Runic Echoes. Rest is just doing bear stuff in top lane. Because he pretty much knows at this point, as long as the Lilia just, you know, does Lilia things once she starts heading into the lanes, it don't matter what the other lanes are doing right at the moment. And for Nova, this is very much them, a different kind of identity where they are mainly to try and play through this bot lane while you have picked up this Caitlyn for Golden Feet and Pop being put onto his signature Thresh. Unfortunately, when Lilia's this far ahead, Ryan has no jungle pressure, and if Ryan's not careful, Hana will just come over the wall and give him a quick bonk.
Exactly, quick bonk. Unfortunately, the Seed is unable to spot Ryan out, therefore Ryan gets to live, but unfortunately his jungle, though, is already in the hands of Hana, who's constantly making visits here and there. And yeah, level 6 already for Hana, and more control, definitely, as this is tough, because when we look at the draft, Nova decided to ban out Morgana and Karthus, therefore they were ready for this Lilia pick, or more like they are prepared that this was coming, but unfortunately, this start for Hana is just huge for J2.
That, or they expected it to, you know, be the final pickup. Maybe they thought J-Team was going to put some higher priority elsewhere, but unfortunately, when you get, it's rare that you're going to get both a Caitlyn and a Lilia at the moment as far as things go, and especially now this bot lane. Unfortunately, you see a little bit of miscommunication coming out there between Golden Feet and Pop, still able to get themselves back to safety, and now getting some aggression there onto Woody, but Lil V steps forward, not able to get a decent amount of damage just yet, but not afraid to go toe-to-toe up against Pop and Golden Feet.
Yeah, exactly. The lantern placement, though, I guess, just as you mentioned, might be a little bit of miscommunication.
Oh, no. Coming on over the wall, it's the showstopper down into the Drowsy, and bing bada boom. That's all it takes as Nesty finds himself a kill. Woody gets taken on down, though. Ignite will tick down. Not able to get the kill on over to the Caitlyn, but Nova finally able to find something here in the bot lane.
And that summoner spell's being already dished out for both of these teams, bottom teams rather. The bottom lane carries rather, as Flash and Ignite already down for Woody. Only Flash is left for Lil V. So both of these AD carries still at least have some Flash. So that's additional safety. It all started from this hook from Pop and a quick box in. And unfortunately, Woody had to eat a cool chunk of damage from Golden Feet and Pop.
Yeah, Lil V also couldn't actually finish off the kill as there was the heal coming through onto Pop from his carry, so not end of the world there. Does mean, though, not a lot of summoners available on either side, just the Flash for safety on the carries. Meanwhile, though, top side, it is going to be the Deer in control, as that's going to be Rift Herald now secured by Hana. So we'll see if they're able to actually place that anywhere on the map to try and open things up. As taking a look toward the top side of the map, we're not seeing Rocky get a massive gold lead like we saw in Game 1, especially in this matchup up against the Volibear. Rest has actually been able to play this decently well, only falling behind just now as he ended up walking back, wanting to save his teleport for a possible team fight.
Yeah, exactly. As someone, as something like a Volibear into the Renekton, especially Rest, knowing what Rocky's habits are, that's the reason why he's able to outplay Rocky on the Lucian earlier. This time, though, this heavily really needs the assistance of Ryan this time around to apply pressure, either topside or elsewhere in the map. Especially because Rocky can play aggressive, because he has to worry about Hana lurking around the corner and just sort of punishing him for an aggressive play. That's the reason why Nova is not on the same usual signature that what we see.
Yeah, and unfortunately, too, like, for Ryan, you take a look at the gold right now. If you're only 200 gold ahead of Pop, it's not a feels-good kind of moment right now. And Golden Feet got to be a little bit careful getting that aggressive. He ended up using his 90 caliber just to try and jump in. And now G4 underneath the tower. Drowsy's going to land. Nesty's looking for the play. Do see, though, G4 is able to get himself back to safety, but that is still going to be the gold funneled into Hana as well as Nesty, as G4 is able to escape with his life.
G4 is able to escape with his life and as well as his flash intact.
Lil V
Up.
looking for that force shot onto Golden Feet and will land. Still, though, has to be careful. Headshot damage coming out from the Caitlyn. Still doing decent. So that is going to force him to back off. A little bit of action here and there in bot lane. J-Team, though, not able to knock down the first tower with Shelly, so they're going to have to wait on the next spawn. Meanwhile, top lane, Rest getting into the face of Rocky, even getting a nice execute amount of damage. In comes the Stormbringer, dominant spot by Rocky, trying to answer back. Bite comes in and lands. Rest, though, waiting on cooldown, pops the Q, wanting to jump on in, and there you go. Rocky gets taken down, trying to make the play happen with his flash. Isn't going to be the case, as Rest finds a solo kill in top lane.
Yeah, I mean, Rocky was looking for the outplay potential, but Rest was even rather on in the middle. They're safe, but going back a top side, Rest is able to get that HP advantage in the initial trade, I suppose, because Rocky just wanted to run for the tower and hopefully get that outplay there. Even though, yes, Rocky's able to remove his Rest's shield, but because of Rest's initial harass, Rocky's not in a prime position at all to outplay this, even though he has that stun in.
Yeah, unfortunately there you saw Rocky needing just a little bit extra damage. A nice little invade coming out here, though, from Nova as Pop once again secures the kill on the Thresh. Maybe you want to try and give that back over to the Silas, but nonetheless, it's still a nice little invade and gets Ryan back on the board with his first assist.
Yeah, at least bot lane isn't spinning out of control just as what we saw in game number 1. They have the Caitlyn in their hands now, which means they have a little bit more priority, and Woody unfortunately caught mid-rotation to go back to the lane, and therefore they're able to punish that. Hana, though, making his first visit at topside.
Does have the sleep available if he's able to get a quick ability off onto Rocky. Looks like, though, that's not going to be the case as Hana backs off. Do see, though, second dragon of the game is available, so Hana just going to pop into the mid lane, picks up a quick little bit amount of CS, going to crash that wave in alongside Nest, and that should net them another turret plate. Ryan is going to be able to steal the showstopper, but there you go. Dragon started off here, is spotted out on top of a ward, so we'll see if Nova can try and stop this.
Yeah, priority in favor of all of the lanes for Type A J team. Now they spot pop mid-rotation to at least deward any sort of the encircling vision in favor of J team. But unfortunately, because again, they're way below when it comes to the lead, as Hana still reigning as king of the jungle for this game in particular.
So there you are, second dragon secured by Type A J team. Going to be Infernal Soul for our third game. Rift is set alight. Gonna knock down some new paths, especially for Lilia that doesn't necessarily have any way of going over walls. That's actually a very nice soul for her outside of the Cloud Soul, which gives her just that ton of extra move speed. She'll be able to kind of shift in and out of the jungle camps, as well as look to hunt down members of Nova if they are caught off guard. Meanwhile, top lane, once again, we've seen this before. Rocky getting aggressive, Rest doesn't really care. And you take a look there, turret plates heavily in favor of Type A J team, as this is a pretty forced attempt. Cold Feet, though, does get tagged out and is going to be put into sleep. Nesty gets himself close enough. In comes that showstopper, brings them back, but now Teleport going to come back out on the side of Nova as Rocky's looking to turn it. Nesty getting a little bit too aggressive himself, will get taken down. Rest popped his Teleport, but he's nowhere close enough to the fight. Looks like, though, Type A J team want to try and salvage this situation as Ryan's going to come back around the corner, has to try and get himself back to safety, and Rest not going to get in range of the stun.
Nice turnaround still coming from Nova. I mean, Type A J team really committed to that one. The curtain call was a little bit awkward because it didn't really tag anyone, but it is enough for them to sidestep and buy some time a little bit for Nesty to enter the fight. The thing is, Hana was just way far ahead. Box was there to zone Hana away, and the teleport in the middle as well forced J-Team to not pursue this 100%.
And you saw there a little bit too confident coming out there from Type A J team, especially Hana said, all right, you know what? I got myself the seed onto the Caitlyn. We should try and make this play. Maybe should have decided, okay, you know what? He flashed away. We're not going to get in range. And those kind of mistakes opens up an opportunity for Nova to get themselves back into this one, even after such a disaster start coming out from the jungle in Ryan. They will be able to at least try and answer back some of these plays, but meanwhile, second Rift Herald is going to be secured by Type A J team.
Yeah, I think that is the game plan, because J-Team has the opportunity to be able to keep with the pressure, and Nova in return will be able to punish. They have the capability to do so, depending on what Ryan hijacks. They do have pop as well. And as well as the Emperor's Divide later on. So I guess under tower or in between tower aggression will be where Nova really shines. But slowly but surely, Type A J team is removing any of the first-year towers so far, considering that Rocky, again, unfortunately, is unable to stand his ground when it comes to the top lane.
Now it's kind of shape up here for this mid-game to possibly be carried by G4, but unfortunately, Sleep comes out. Hana's going to come on over, give him the bonk, not actually able to land it, though, as the watch out Eve is just a little far away. Meanwhile, top lane, Rest is able to get the first tower in the matchup up against Rocky, and that is a statement to be said, as Rocky got himself the Renekton once more, but this time, Rest has been able to handle the matchup beautifully, and G4 gotta be careful to be nearby, as even though Ryan and Pop are close by. You see Pop really trying to force a play here. Nesty is going to be back by the showstopper. In, though, gets popped into the haymaker. Gets a little bit of damage himself. Nesty finally gets taken on down. Hana not able to really answer here, as Nova are able to find themselves another kill in mid. Meanwhile, though, turrets are taken on both side lanes.
And that's the reason why some of the teams would like to ban out Thresh against Pop, because he's incredibly confident and they're able to at least sort of stall out when it comes to J-Team's momentum here. Removing Nesty is a huge thing, therefore J-Team unable to make aggressive roams, aggressive visits, and invades in Nova's jungle, and that buys Nova a little bit of time at least, and that's the second death for Nesty again, which is understandable because he's going to be the primary engage that's going to be in close quarters against Nova's composition.
And off the back they go. So with that, J-Team able to find 3 towers across the rift. Kind of now wondering here for Nova, can Golden Feet get online here soon? Or is this game going to be just kind of blown over by Taipei J-Team if given an opportunity? Lil V's finished off his Storm Razor, so he gets himself a little bit extra damage here on this Jhin. Alongside the Karma as well. Keeps him safe. Do see, though, Dragon is up and available. Res gets his ult stolen away there by Ryan. It looks like Nova patches 5. Don't wish to allow J-Team just to simply get this Dragon without a contest.
Yeah, Nashor is completed for G4 at least, so they're able to deal a little bit more of hope or a little bit of more long-drawn fights at least. But J-Team, because of their lead, they're a little bit more comfortable and now half HP on the Dragon.
We'll see here now. Pop is able to land a quick hook, but instantly cleansed away on Hana. You do see, though, 2 members get caught out by the sleep. In goes the engage. G4 gets taken on down. Stormbringer used by Ryan. Unfortunately, he just gets taken down immediately. Curtain Call lands 1 bullet, finds 2. Third connects, 4 on target. Meanwhile, Dragon's going to get taken on down, and the W lands from the Jhin as Golden Feet gets caught out from across the rift. As Lil V, sniper in hand, able to take down the Caitlyn alongside his teammates. And Taipei J-Team, now Shelly going to be used. Going to get that second-tier tower in mid.
What a confident take from J-Team, and unfortunately, Nova is unable to propel Golden Feet enough for him to be able to knock out these targets off the park because there's so much tankiness from J-Team, and Rest is able to catch the rest of Nova off guard with his flash Q in. And with that, Curtain Call is able to slow the retreat, and they're not stopping.
That's T, but no, the damage comes through the other way as the Haymaker gets charged up. Pop going for a ride, wants to try and jump in. Facebreaker brings back 2 members. Rocky on the other side of the wall is going to get tagged up by Hana, though, on that Q and gets burned down. A nice play, though, coming out from Nova. They are able to trade 1 member back as Nesty will get taken down, but damage already done as J-Team are able to find themselves a 5,000 gold lead. We'll take a look back here as the teleport was initially used by Nova.
Yeah, it was G4 just wanting to farm and go back to lane, I suppose, but Nesty, Hana lying and waiting for that, and at least for Nova, they're able to trade that out. And Lil V, I just want to point out how Woody gets that really early Crucible, therefore sorta counters Pop here on his future death sentences, and therefore, you know what, even though the Morgana's not here, we still have that Crucible in the fights later on.
So now question becomes here for Nova. Can you stem this bleeding long enough for Golden Feet and G4 to kind of come online? Because you have those big late game carries still available on your comp. It kind of rests with Taipei J-Team to be the ones that actually try and close out this game sooner than later. Don't really want to continue to scale up and let that Caitlyn come back online. We'll see, though. Elder, Drake not going to be available for a little while, but Infernal Soul Point is there for Taipei J-Team. And if they're able to secure that extra chunk of damage coming out of Lil V already can get a bit nastier. We'll see whether or not Nova can prevent that from going over.
I think that is the best side, the best pick for this Karma is because, yes, even though Lil V is on a low mobility champion, there's the sleep kicking in.
Sleep comes in, Nesty lines up that showstopper. G4 tries to get himself back to safety. Not going to happen as Hana is able to find himself the kill. and just happily prances away on the Lilia.
Yeah, 402, 400 gold bounty on Hana's head at the moment. And without the mid laner, it's going to be a 4v5 for Nova. And now they're starting this Baron. We'll have to see if Nova decides to contest this. That's a teleport from Rocky.
All right, Nova. Let's see. Can Ryan find that hero play? Pop ends up banning the death sentence at point blank range. Rocky going to get stunned up. Ryan down to half health. Still has that showstopper available. Going to try and bring back Lil V. Not going to happen. Rocky dives on in. Lil V gets taken down low. Gets the shot down. That's what you need. ST's too far away from the rest of the fight. Hana's down low. Rocky was finally able to find himself the kill. He gets taken down, though, by the unstoppable Hana. Hook, though, does not connect as Pop not able to find his target once more. Hana still not able to land the seed. No sleep available. And Nova, they're actually able to prevent that Baron from going over to Taipei J team at the cost for a 2-for-2.
Exactly. I think that is still a pretty good win for Nova. They are able to buy some time for themselves with those interestingly long death timers, I suppose. But it all started here. Even though Pop has missed his death sentence, it was still enough for J-Team to fully commit to this. Therefore, Rocky is able to dive into the backline, eliminate the carry after one rotation of autos and as well as skills. And even though Hana was very low as well, still able to get another kill in his pocket. But with that said, Baron stop, that is mission accomplished for Nova.
One thing to note, though, with Nova as well, is Golden Feet finally has been able to find a kill for himself. That has been something that Nova have been waiting to happen for a decent amount of time here in this game, as Pop was securing kills down in bot lane. Death Sentence could be used. They know that Rest is nearby. The rest of Nova have actually set themselves up in the brush. It could look for a play here. Trinket, though, comes out from Lil V and spots out those members, so Nova not able to land for that Death Rush. 10 seconds on Infernal Drake. Nova have the setup available to themselves. Golden Feet can lay down a trap line. Double sleep available. Not going to pull the trigger, though, onto Pop and Rocky. Want to try and use that for better targets. J-Team, can they actually seal this one away? Hana wants to jump in close to the pit. Dragon going to get taken down low. Ryan's able to secure it, and they prevent the soul from going on over. Stormbringer used by Rest, trying to get himself back to safety. Death Sentence going to land back onto Karma. In comes ST, though, on the flank. Finds himself a multi-man showstopper. And there you are. It's going to be the 1-for-1 instead, though, as Lil V able to take down Pop. Able to find it. G4, Emperor's Defied. Not able to get it to the right direction. Hana soaks up the ace in the hole. Rests on the flank. Wants to try and find a fight without the Stormbringer, though. He can't do anything on this volley bear. He gets taken down. And Nova find a fight slightly in their favor. Lil V looking for the final shot. Not going to find it, though. And it's going to be a 2-for-2 with Dragon going in favor of Nova.
Okay, MVP on that fight, definitely G4 with his Emperor's Divide, but let's take a look at the beginning of this fight first. Rest being that grand opener. The thing about this fight is that Nesty was able to get at least a pincer attack, but he wasn't present for the first few seconds of the game to initiate that, and wasn't able to reach enough to activate his Haymaker to last as long. And this is the playmaking Emperor's Divide, able to stop the Curtain Call from Lil V, and that's the reason why they had to go back, because none of their tanks existed anymore, because Rest was isolated, and therefore their only call to start the fight from a very safe range was that Curtain Call.
Alright, so starting to see some life come out in Nova. Like I mentioned, if you can keep Golden Feet, if you can keep G4 alive, there's an opportunity for them to come back in this game. Seed, though, comes out. Not going to land on the Golden Feet just yet, as Hana's looking to fish that down the mid lane, which, speaking of Hana, this deer starts to do a decent amount of damage. Has picked up the Leandries. Able to get that burn. Meanwhile, though, Pop able to find another kill. In comes, watch out, Eve. You're going to get a decent amount of damage. Golden Feet gets himself back to safety. Hana cannot finish off the kill. Leandri's burning away. In comes the Kern call. Does it spell Kerns? No, G4 is not able to get there in time. The burn was enough, though, to finally take down the Caitlyn. And now Teleport finds G4 and Rocky on the wrong side of the map. In comes Rest, wanting to jump in. Nesty on the flank. Wants to try and get himself connected with a Facebreaker. In comes the Showstopper. Facebreaker comes in after. Q lines it up, and he takes down G4 with a final shot off the Q. And there you go. It's going to be J-Team finding another two members, both carries down on Nova.
And it's a different scenario. Yes, they were able to get G4 earlier, but this time around they're also able to get Golden Feet, therefore in a very comfortable position to get a better chance of committing 100% on towards this Baron. Based on what we're seeing from Nova this time around, they concede because it's just a 3v5 situation, and they're hoping to get at least that tower in the mid lane for a consolation prize.
And there you go. Nova unable to prevent that from going on over. Lil V might get caught out himself. Sleep is going to land. Death Sentence, though, is cleansed immediately there by Woody. Able to keep Lil V nice and safe. Gets the 2-for-1 combo as the Sleep also then transpired. And there you go. Let's take a look back to how this play shaped up in mid lane.
Yeah, it all started with a beautiful double Sleep, able to tag 2 with that Siege, and Hana can just try to clean up with the kill and chunk them down. And the thing is, Nesty, look at him. He came from the top portion of the map, having to keep Rocky busy all this time, but the fight went long enough for Nova to keep sticking around, for Nesty to even walk manually from top side to intercept Nova's retreat in the river.
And then, unfortunately, for Nova, because of that Infernal Soul, lots of options for J-Team just to walk through with no walls in their way. And at least for Ryan, he was able to find himself back to safety, but off that translates now into the Baron buff being secured by Type A J-Team. Also coming online for Hana is the Rabadon, so now this deer gonna hit like a damn train instead. And now Infernal Soul on the table for Type A J-Team in the next 50 seconds.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, earlier Hana was dealing a huge amount of damage already without that Rabadon, only sitting on that Leandri's curtain call.
Curtain call, 2-shot hits, 3-shot gonna connect, 4th is there, but Rocky soaks up the damage. You saw, though, that seed damage coming out from Hana. Pop the sleeve to try and force that fight. Not able to find anything, but with chunked out health bars, that forces Nova to have to retreat, especially Ryan himself. 30 seconds now onto the Drake spot.
And J-Team full control, full on force on the driver's seat, as Nova is forced to be a little bit more reactive, as they did win the fight earlier in the Dragon Pit. We'll have to see whether or not if they're able to replicate that scenario as they're primed and ready to take it. 8 seconds on the clock for the Dragon to spawn.
Rocky with the teleport, able to rejoin on the fight. You do see, though, a nice grenade comes through. Ryan gonna pop his own current call. Has to be careful, though, as the Seedling is going to connect. 4th shot lands onto Hana, but doesn't do a whole lot of damage. Let's see, though, can Nova actually stop this? That Dragon already gets taken on down. Type A J-Team now with that extra damage in their back pocket. G4 needs to find a Hero's Emperor's Defied, finds it on 2 members. Hana's still fine, though. G4 gets caught out into the back line. Rocky needs to find his mark onto those members. G4 gets taken down by Woody, and Type A J-Team still with full health bars on multiple members, even with Ryan on top of that damn Jin. He finally is able to find themselves a kill. They do at least trade back 2 members on Type A J-Team, but now it's Golden Feet Pop. These 2 members that needed to carry this game, now having to defend the base away from Type A J-Team.
Yeah, exactly. Even though Lil V is out of the table for now, for 30 seconds on the clock, you still have the most fed member in the team still alive and well. 705 already onto Hana. And that's the reason why J-Team, even though, let's just say, Golden Feet and Pop is still alive, they can just march towards the base without having any sort of scary threat whatsoever.
And there you are. Type A J-Team actually able to finally crack open the inhibitor. 5 minutes now onto the Elder Drake. Baron will be up before that, and we'll take a look back here at how this all took place. G4 needed to find a heroic play here. Unfortunately, only caught out 2 members, and Rocky's just too late to the party.
Yeah, too late to the party, unable to reach because that sleep actually ticked in. Lil V's death was actually a little bit slow, but it still did the part on where Nova was forced to overcommit, dive towards Lil V because he was low, but it was easy for Type A J-Team to be able to punish that. Even though the fight was a little bit separated, Type A J-Team is able to keep the most fed members alive, and that is Hana and the opposite side of the team. 705, still Rabadon's intact, and the stopwatch still not baited out at all.
Yeah, hasn't actually been threatened just yet, which is a bit disappointing to say the least as the seed rolls through mid lane. Just looking to tag any member of Nova. And just gonna
That's a lot of seeds.
just throwing it down mid until he finds somebody. That's the power of that Lilia once she's ahead. We do also note Lil V has pretty much come online with this Jhin. Now I think he sits at 95% crit chance, so hitting pretty hard himself. He's able to get in range of G4 or Golden Feet. And now question becomes, can you knock down these carries, or can you find picks like this? Woody gets himself back to safety though, as Rest is just going to keep himself occupied in mid lane, forcing Nova to have to be split.
Yeah, a lot of trust still, even though that death sentence connects. J-Team is still going to be lying in wait if Pop decides to get that lantern in and reel in a member on towards Woody earlier. But this gives room for J-Team to just sort of mow down the objectives, at least for the second tier towers for now, as bottom is still standing. But yeah, I think that is the scary part about having a Lilia. You do have that seed to get information, to tag someone, maybe even if they also rally in the mid lane, you get a lot of bunched up targets for a potential setup. And yeah, Nova now, quite similar to game number 2, they are on the defense because J-Team has a lot in store.
And a lot at stake here. We did mention this is our lower bracket. If you lose here, your season comes to a close. There is no regional qualifier anymore for the region. If you're able to make finals, you're able to make it to Worlds. You get 2 seeds off that, and seeding determined by the finals results. See though, Golden Feet gets caught out. The sleep is going to connect. First shot lands, second one's there, and Hana is legendary as he deletes Golden Feet from the map and possibly deletes any hopes remaining for Nova to close back this series. And unfortunately for Rocky, unfortunately for G4, they will not be able to make it 3 years back-to-back to an international event, as Taipei J-Team are looking to close out the series 3-0.
What a huge statement from J-Team. Despite having such a shaky series against Machi, they're able to show their dominance still in the lower bracket, even on this 3-0 against Nova.
And for Rocky, for G4, for Pop, for Ryan, for Golden Feet, they get to watch Worlds from home, as they will not be able to represent the region on the international stage, and instead, Taipei J-Team keep their hopes alive, trying to climb their way through the lower bracket back into our grand final.
Yes, completely shutting down and sending Nova home, as that's our 3rd team saying goodbye to that world slot this season. And yeah, it's a huge deal because, again, imagine G4 since 2015 back in BKT, he was always constantly representing the GPL or LST region. But now it's a different scenario with PCS this time around.
Yeah, and for Crow, we finally actually got to see something else come out of this Nova Esports draft, but unfortunately, Hana on this deer seems to be an issue for a lot of these teams, and unfortunately Nova just didn't have that answer in the early game.
I mean, yeah, we talked about it in the pregame where we said that Lilia is kind of very much a setup champion, and we saw her do exactly that for in multiple scenarios where she would just set up for either the curtain call or, you know, set showstopping someone back into the team. And she just gets more annoying as the game goes on. As we mentioned, she had basically doubled the Silas and CS, and the Silas doesn't really have a great first clear either. So there wasn't really a chance for Silas to really pull himself into this game and kind of get himself established to start doing what he does well in the jungle. Kind of a rough one to watch from the early game perspective, especially for Ryan. Again, I know how hard Silas jungle is to play right now, so it was kind of difficult to watch.
Yeah, definitely difficult to watch considering that we mentioned the start was very hard, and the fact that G4 isn't a champion where Nova is really banking on the later stages of the game for them to pull through. They had this really small light that happened when they fought in that dragon pit, but Hana is just too far ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately there for Nova,